just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
Are you ready to travel? We got all the travel buzz here on Smart People TravelWise with Alvin Adriano on PHLV Radio.
Hello, and what a wonderful March day, and so blessed to be able to spend another day chatting about travel. Travel continues its resurgence, and as the days move forward, so shall our desires to explore the world. And I can tell you that hope and optimism is bursting throughout the trade, and we could not be any more happier. I'm telling you, all my friends and faces around the industry continue to smile, and honestly, I am soaking it all up. Every day we hear about the travel restrictions and quarantines being removed. And now, if you're just tuning in, again, welcome to the show. This is Smart People TravelWise. It's a podcast that is a glimpse into the travel industry. It allows us to provide perspective through travel professionals around the world. My name is Alvin Adriano, CEO of TravelWise International, and I'm your host today. But before we get started, drop a comment and share where you're watching from. We do appreciate all of our followers, and if you want to catch our show, click on the bell and you'll be notified about what's the next episode coming out. So 2 years removed from life pre-pandemic, and we're now looking into the future. How can we learn from our past mistakes and create a new future with more possibilities than before? Plus ensuring that we continue to evolve and develop, especially when it comes to connecting and understanding one another. That is what travel does. In its core, travel connects people and unites people. It allows us to understand a little bit more about one another. Last week, we spoke with Zane Kirby, CEO of the American Society of Travel Advisors, about the future of travel and how the travel advisor community plays a major part in travel. Crisis is the true revealer, and as an industry, we still have things to learn, which is why I'm so excited to bring today's guest on. She's an amazing woman who's not only goal-oriented, but driven by a mission, which on International Women's Day, she is a great leader who I'm so blessed to have on the show today. So a little context for all the listeners and viewers. Representation is needed in all industries, and travel is no exception. A study in 2019 found that Black Americans spend an estimated $109 billion on leisure travel, which represents 13% of U.S. travel market. 17% of African Americans take one or more international trips and travel locally more than 6 times a year. Being able to leverage this data and understand trends on future spending to create experiences, products, and services that represent this emerging market. With a global movement during the pandemic to amplify voices of the underrepresented, Veranda Adkins and Shanta Harrison decided to establish a platform to address these issues and to provide access to knowledge and build a communal support system. The Association of Black Travel Professionals, ABTP, was established as the premier organization focused on the development, growth, and certification of Black travel professionals. They aim to raise the profile and talent base within the Black travel community through a customized training platform, along with integrated network opportunities, which give exposure to all aspects of the travel industry. I thought it was essential to have one of its founders, Veranda Adkins, to stop by and chat a little bit about diversity in the travel industry and how we can pioneer a movement for representation and community. A little quick bio on Veranda. She has more than 20 years of experience in the travel industry and is an avid traveler, having been to 34 countries and 4 continents. She began her career in the tour operations sector, but after 14 years on the supplier side, moved to the retail side and began her agency, Travel Legacy, which is located in Athens, Alabama. She's an award-winning industry leader and travel professional who specializes in fairy tale destination weddings, unforgettable group trips, and bucket list destinations. Please welcome the founder of the Association of Black Travel Professionals, Miss Veranda Adkins. Hi, Veranda.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well.
That's good.
I just want to, I guess you're a roll tide kind of girl, huh?
I am not actually, believe it or not. It's funny, we are a house divided because my husband and I graduated from the University of Florida, so go Gators. But our daughter actually attends the University of Alabama, so I have to roll tide. Sometimes my husband absolutely refuses to say those two words together. So.
Well, I know how SEC competitions are,
Absolutely.
so it's really,
Absolutely.
really intense. Well, thank you for being on the show today. I'm so happy to be able to have you on here. I know I talked a little bit about your bio, but could you give our listeners and viewers a little bit more background about who you are and how you came into the industry?
Yeah, you know what? It's definitely divine intervention. My undergrad degree and everything that I had did in school was in human resources. And so my first real job out of college was at that tour operator company as an HR professional, and just during the years just evolved over onto the sales side. And now here I am, 22 years later, selling travel, which I never would have thought, but I think I found my passion and I absolutely love it. So that's what I keep doing.
It's amazing. It's one of those things that we tell people all the time. Once you get into the travel industry, it's really hard to get out.
Yeah, you can't go back. You can't go back.
You know too much. You take the red pill, you're just like, oh my gosh, I know too much. Why would I go? But that's so crazy. I mean, you started in the tour operation side and you said you moved up and you got more familiar with the sales side. So 22 years, I know you've seen a lot happen in these 22 years, but how has travel evolved from the beginning and to where it's now?
It's so crazy. I was talking to someone the other day just about like ticketing and things like that. And of course, being on the tour operator side, one of my jobs was training our people that answered the phone. So we were teaching people saber techniques and just the whole GDS thing. And there's so many agents now that are in the industry that if you say GDS with them, they're like, what is that? Because it's so, there's still, of course, so many people using it, but there's so many people that, just rely on the tour operator websites and things like that. So they're not really doing that with travel. And then just seeing like the influx of new destinations that people are interested in going in. 20 years ago, it was kind of like Cancun and Jamaica me to death with stuff. But now you hear all these other islands. I was just on the phone with somebody about Nevis a couple of days ago, and it's like, how'd you find this little place? So it's just kind of crazy how things have evolved that way.
I think you're completely right. I mean, even how these last 2 years played out, the acceleration or the adaptation of technology for our industry is just skyrocketed. Now we're doing virtual consultations through Zoom. If you told, I had a storefront for a long time, 33 years. And so we never thought about having virtual consultation, but now this is how people prefer. And it's crazy to think how the modernization of digital check-ins, checking with your phone to get inside hotel rooms, maybe checking into the hotel at all, grabbing a taxi now is not even waving your hand. It's looking on your phone. So I don't know what to expect for the future, but do you have any ideas what to expect or what do you think might happen in the future?
Oh, goodness. I think just seeing a lot more people at a lot of different stages of their life just starting to travel earlier. I know I mentioned my daughter's a junior in college and just some of the places that she and her friends have been talking about going. Like they're like on pins and needles waiting for Tokyo to open. And as a 19-year-old, Tokyo was just like so far off my radar that I wouldn't even thought about it. But they're like, let's go. We can't wait. We want to go. And, just seeing people go a lot earlier and a lot more places just is going to kind of be the norm to travel. Versus when I was growing up, there were some places that I never even imagined or dreamed I would get to because it just seemed so out of reach. And now just with technology, people are able to learn about all of those different places. And now they want to go see them. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful that people are now have so much access to information. They're able to share information, knowledge, like before, like you were talking about ticketing, like you would have to call all these individual tour operators. You couldn't just click around and then search so easily. It made workflow and productivity so much faster, but it also connected people so much faster to the world to find. Like, I'm surprised some of these places that people ask me to find too. I'm just like, where someone's top 10 list of craziest places to go, that's where they want to go. So
yeah, and it's even changing. Technology is even changing. Like, I think I was in Spain and Paris with some friends. This was pre-pandemic, and we kind of just pulled up a list of like the top 10 bars to visit in Europe or whatever. And we went through the list to see what was in Paris and what was in Barcelona. And we wanted to hit them up. And that's just like something, you know, before all of this technology stuff, we wouldn't have been able to, you know, to find. So it was kind of cool to be able to do that.
Well, I think it's also important too, through this technology, because of the pandemic and lockdowns, we were able to create virtual communities where we can connect with people, share information, share our, I guess, preferences and hobbies. But because of that, communities were so important during the pandemic. And I think that's what kind of led into this association for you guys, be connecting Black travel professionals and trying to find some way or a platform for you guys to share resources. So can you talk about how ABT first started and, you know, what was the initial mission when you first created this vision?
Yeah, so ABTP started, because of the pandemic. It was one of those things where we actually had some downtime because we weren't booking, and it was after all of the cancellations had been done and all the refunds that we could get were given out. And we just were starting to hear different things in the industry. There were a lot of people talking about how they were like done with the industry because they didn't have tools and resources in place to deal with that type of mass cancellation. We also heard, there was a lot of talk when the government programs came out about helping businesses stay in business with like PPP loans and EIDL and things like that. There was a lot of talk in the African American community and some of the Facebook groups that I was in about people being afraid to apply for that or not having systems in place to provide the necessary documentation. And so we kind of just wanted to provide a safe space for people to be able to ask those questions and say, hey, I don't know the answer, or I don't have this in place with my business. And, just have that community do it. So we spent the better half of 2020 from probably about May until we launched in December, just working on a plan to be able to get ABTP up and running and out as a resource for travel professionals.
Oh, that's great. And I think a lot of the public do not know that a lot of travel professionals come from different industries, different networks. And so they have a lot of skills that we don't realize that we can share, like accounting, grant. There was a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, they come from everywhere. And it's crazy because we have attorneys that are part of ABTP. We have IT executives, accountants, and it's funny because when we pull out our resources or we send something to say, hey, who can help us with something, people will come out and it's like, you do that? You're kind of awesome outside of this travel world. So they come from everywhere.
Yeah. It's wonderful, and that's what we see with the younger generation sharing on online platforms. Just, they do it on gaming tips or how to beat a video game, but for us using it in a platform to share information for our own businesses, because being an entrepreneur, it's really difficult. It gets lonely at the top. So being able to connect with other like-minded people is such a valuable resource. So it's so great to have that support system in place for you guys.
Yeah, and that's exactly how Shantae and I started our relationship. I have to admit, I'm not very social on social media. I'm more of a lurker. I'll read the comments and keep on scrolling and maybe hit a like button every now and then, but rarely do I actually type in words. But Shantae and I were in the same Facebook group probably this was maybe 2017 or 18. Mm-hmm. And she asked a question about a destination and I happened to know the answer of it. And that day I just, sent her a quick message. And from there we started just talking to each other, regularly about different business ideas, and it wasn't necessarily, I wouldn't call what we had a friendship. It was just hey, this is somebody that I know thinks like me. And just having that person, there that thinks like you to bounce ideas off of was a huge help. And from that, we kind of formed ABTP, and we've kind of become friends now. But during that, we were just hey, let's bounce this idea off. I kind of see the turn of events coming. Usually when you're not necessarily friends with somebody, you have to text them first, like, hey, is now a good time to talk? And then now you just call them in the middle of dinner and start talking. So we're at the call in the middle of dinner and start talking stage. But it's great to just have somebody to do that. And we encourage our members to find somebody to do that. So we have different events where, you know, it's more a setting where people are able to talk instead of just our trainings where people are coming on talking about their products or their property. We actually have sessions where it's just us talking. And so we can say, you know what, guess what? Alvin was on the call and he said XYZ, let me reach out to him. And now maybe me and Alvin can start, you know, working with each other that way. Cause I think it helps a whole lot.
Yeah. You know, I think we were talking about earlier about like a lot of public people don't understand that travel advisors still exists. You know, we talk about the numbers and ASA about, I think it's like 16,000 travel agents. But if you look at the population, there's more than enough people in the world to serve a travel agent. I mean, we should be in a more of community over competition state where everyone's just helping each other, because after 2 years of the pandemic, all travel is just gearing up to come back for this resurgence. But for this association, you know, it became as a support group, but it evolved into bigger things. And I think I really wanted to highlight that because I think it's important, especially during the pandemic. It was even more important for representation, especially for minorities, because in all industries, we are facing with, you know, being able for our voices to be heard. And travel is no exception to that. It's really, when you look at how much spending there is, we talked about $109 billion in the leisure market just in 2019, before 2020. How important is it for us to have exclusivity or understanding of the preferences of these emerging market? What has led to this surge in diversity for travel?
You know, I think with the pandemic coming, and like you said, it was even pre-pandemic, but I think now, you know, people got to sit at home for a year, for the better part of a year and a half before people really started getting comfortable. And I think it made a lot of people realize too, like, hey, you know what, I better start living, I better start seeing some of these places that I want to see before, you know, I may not get another chance, so let me go now. And so I've had a lot of people getting passports that never had passports before. There's somebody told me that their mom, just they're 45, 46, and their mom is just getting her first passport. Now she's getting on a plane for the first time. So, you know, it's kind of great just to see that change. And I think people just, you know, want to experience different parts of the world now. You know, one of the things that we always see is that travel is the only thing that, you know, really makes you richer in the world. And I really think that's true, because just going to different countries and seeing the culture and learning how people live, it just opens up so many more opportunities and possibilities, I think, in your mind. And when you can see other people that look like yourself, no matter which ethnic group you're in, doing these things, that's what makes it possible. Because it's easy to look at, you know, supermodels or, you know, celebrities and say they're going wherever. And yeah, oh, I can dream. But when you see my neighbor down the street just got back from South Africa or just got back from Thailand or something like that, then it's like, oh, well, she went, I can probably do that too. Yeah. So I think that's important to keep the diversity in the travel industry for that reason.
Yeah. You know, you're so right. You know, in Filipinos, when we first came here, it was our what we call first generation. There's to assimilate, to get financial stability, to find jobs, prepare their children for good education. So luxuries like vacation was never a priority to them. Right. But as, you know, our generation are starting to get more wealth, we're starting to realize more luxuries. You know, vacationing is starting to be on the radar for us. And I'm starting to see how many more Asian Americans are traveling, and it's growing in numbers. It's especially during the pandemic with the Great Resignation, where people are now favoring experiences over materialistic things. Yeah. You know, I can't imagine people with these cars that were sitting in their driveways paying monthly payments when they're like, oh, I could just go on a trip, you know, save that money.
Yep.
So it's really, really cool seeing the shift in the trends where people are really prioritizing their experiences, and vacationing, like you said, travel makes you richer because of what you take back from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, diversity, equity, inclusion has been when a hot topic for a lot of organizations and tour operators, hoteliers and cruise lines. In your own opinion, how can organizations be a little bit more, more able to prepare themselves for DEI? Like how can they prepare for these emerging trends for not only just Black travelers, but Asian Americans? How can they prepare themselves for that?
It's funny. One of the things we always say to suppliers and things when we're talking to them is if you're looking at your events that you're inviting people to, or even just looking around the room when you're planning these events, if everybody looks like you, then that's probably a problem. You have to see, that there needs to be, because what it is we tend to, it's a natural thing that you tend to, gravitate towards people that look like yourself. So if you're in a room where everybody looks the same, those are the people they're gonna attract. And so, and one of the things at ABTP that's great is that, so many people have told us that before they didn't know where to find African American professionals. They didn't know where to, how could they pull a list? Because, and I get it that, when they pull numbers for an agency, it doesn't say, oh, this is Veranda, she's Black. Oh, this is Alvin, he's Asian American. It's just, this is Alvin's company. He does great work. Let's call him. So I know it doesn't always come up that way. But now with ABTP, that we have this network of near 1,000 agents to say, okay, let me call. I'm looking for, maybe they can help me find who I'm looking for. So that's one of the things that we've been talking to suppliers about, on just really making sure they make that conscious effort to include other races and other ethnicities that don't look like themselves.
That's awesome. I think that's really important, especially when it comes to decision making, when we get to these advisory boards, when we talk about initiatives, humanitarian efforts and what we're doing, because it's really important to get, like you said, perspective from all types of people, race, religions. It helps bring it, because we are traveling to experience and understand people. And so bringing more people into the conversation allows us to do so, even if we don't do it subliminally.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's great with us moving as an industry together towards this. But as travel advisors, DEI has never been something that we've really pushed on. We've always pushed on product sales, on geographics, closing strategies. How can travel advisors take more of this, be more responsible on how they approach diversity in the industry?
You know what? It's funny because even though our name is the Association of Black Travel Professionals, we always tell people that we're open to all to join. Actually, Alvin, you know that you're a member. So it's open to everybody to join. So it's not just on the suppliers and the hotelers to make these changes for DE&I. It's also up to travel agents too. So if you're going to these events, or you're looking, you get invited to some place, it's up to us too to say, hey, is there room for one more? Like, can I invite somebody, or are you looking for more agents? Can I have this great person in mind that I may, that may bring a new perspective to this event, or, so I think that's on our responsibility too, to make sure we try to include other people as well when we're going out.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love the idea of opening the doors and creating opportunities for other members, because that's really what it is. As you start moving up in any industry, doors sometimes close, but sometimes opportunities open themselves, and being able to be part of someone's journey. I'm the sum of a lot of doors that were open for me. And so I'm very, very grateful for those opportunities that were given to me. But I love the fact that we do it as an association to better the industry and just create a stronger community for all of us.
Yeah. And I it's funny because a lot of times I think people may be semi-afraid, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier. We need to create community and not competition, because I'm willing to share, whatever, not that I know all the answers at all about the travel industry, but whatever little knowledge that I do have, I'm willing to share it with anybody because I don't feel like we are each other's competition as travel advisors.
Yeah.
You're going to do things, even if we sit and listen to the same class, you're going to take away from it and do it totally different than what I do, which is going to attract different clients. Yeah. So it's up to us to, realize that and then see how we can work and grow together.
Yeah. I was talking to one of our advisors about New York. There's a million ways to see New York, a foodie tour, and when people, what's the best way to see New York? Well, I mean, that's how it is for the rest of the world. It's whatever you want, whatever preferences, cultural, social, whatever the way, and people don't understand that I can experience however I want a destination. So and I tell people that it's so funny because I'll get people that go to like a Paris or a Rome for the first time, and they think, and I get it because before you go, you don't know what you don't know, but they think like, oh, Paris. So that means I have to have on my 6-inch heels every day and I have to do this. And, I got to get my beret together, and it's like, no, it's a major metropolitan city, just like, and I use like going to New York. So you need to decide what it is that you want to do. I am totally not a foodie at all. So if anybody tells me we're going on a food tour, I'll go, but I'm going to stop somewhere to get something to eat because I'm not going to eat. So you have to find what works for you when you go places. And me and my husband always laugh, and people laugh at us. We're big movie people. And so we go places based on things that we see in the movie. So we want to go stand. Like the first time we went out to Beverly Hills, we went and stood on the steps of the Beverly Hills Police Department because that's where Eddie Murphy was in Beverly Hills Cop. So, so we go look at Nakatomi Plaza because he's a big diehard fan. So we wanted to know where that was. So, everybody, there's always something for everybody. And I think that just goes back to the diversity too, not only in the ethnicities, but also in the things that people like to do and what they consider to be, their bucket list travels for vacation. Yep. So I love that perception, and that's what people don't realize, when we talk about travel, there's so many different ways, and people feel like they have to join the cookie cutter tours, or this is the way I have to see it. Talk to a travel advisor and they'll be able to cultivate craft, identify what it is that you need to see based on your preferences. And I think that's why travel advisors are so important these days, because like you said, people just don't know what they don't know. They don't even know what they want. So
absolutely.
It's our responsibility to figure it out for them.
And that's the great thing. That's what I always tell people about being a travel advisor too. There's so many new people that come into the industry because they had a great vacation and they know what they know on that one vacation, but they'll get into the travel industry and try to sell the whole world. And I'm like, there's no way that I could sell the whole world. If somebody calls me and says they want to go to the Philippines, you need to talk to Alvin. You don't need to talk to Veranda, because Veranda can't sell you that. I can't tell you anything on getting there. And I think that's one of the biggest things about using a travel advisor. I tell people all the time, you don't use a travel advisor for price. You use a travel advisor for the knowledge that we have about the destination in which you want to travel to. So,
Love that.
Yeah.
So, I always ask this, but I know what your answer is. It should be ABTP, but what's one of the great things that come out of the pandemic?
Of course, that is definitely one. But you know what? I think just seeing all the new people and the new places that people want to go to. I actually got to travel last year to my bucket list. I went to Dubai and Maldives. I had been to Dubai before, never realized Maldives was as close. I'll use close relatively, but to Dubai as it was. So just seeing that and opening up, just seeing people go to new places. And even if it's just something, where somebody has never left the state they lived in before and they're taking their first trip to Cancun. I love the excitement of first-time travelers and getting that first stamp on their passport, because then it's like, I can go anywhere now. It's usually that apprehension about that first trip. And then after that, it's like, okay, I think I'm ready to do something else. So I think that's been one of the greatest things for me, because I've had a lot of first-time travelers still wanting to go now, even after the pandemic. So, yeah.
I love that. I mean, travel is so emotional. People don't realize the emotions that are wrapped up into it, because there's, they think about the price and, what they're going to see. But when you go and have a great vacation, it really
Yep.
transforms you, where you're just like, oh, I can't wait to go to my next
Yep.
trip.
Yeah.
But also for us as travel advisors, when we see or hear people come back and their experiences, oh, we love it, because that's what we're so passionate about, sharing the world with other people. And so, when we talk about niches or having a specialty, whatever you're passionate about, so once you realize what it is, it's so easy to sell, because it's just glowing off of you. So
yeah, and that's what I tell people too. Some people, we're fortunate enough to be in the travel industry, so we're able to go multiple places a year. And if somebody asked me a while ago, do I ever take my traveling for granted? And I'm like, I can't ever take it for granted, because I know there's some people who are never going to leave their hometown. Yeah. But at the same time, it's so gratifying to see, someone go down to, Mexico, Caribbean, or whatever for the first time and just say, hey, I'm ready to go to that next place. I'm ready to move on. So it's just really great. It's a great industry to be in. And when you're in it, to actually help people see the world, I tell people that extra, $30-$40 that you're going to spend per night to stay in a nicer place than what you have is going to be so worth it when you come home at the end and you think about the memories from your vacation. Yes.
They just don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, you don't want to come home and think, oh my God, I just wasted, several $1,000s. This vacation was horrible. You want to come home and be able to tell everybody, oh my God, look what I did. Here are my pictures. This is, this place was great. So, yeah.
So with that said, where are you planning to go next?
So I am finally getting to go back to South Africa in a few weeks. I have a group that has not been able to travel. They were scheduled for May 2020. So we all know what happened with that. And we're finally getting to head out in May this year. So that is my next big trip, I guess I will say, unless something pops up in April, because I'm always ready to go.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, thank you so much. And, for any viewers or travel professionals that want to, support ABTP or want to find more information, where can we direct them, or where can they find, resources?
Sure. You can always visit our website, which is abtprofessionals.org. We're also on Facebook and Instagram as the Association of Black Travel Professionals. So you can find us there. So I don't know the words, but our @ is Black Travel Pros. I'm not the social media person. That is Shantae. I stay in my lane.
No worries. We'll post it in the comments so we can kind of people where they want to go. But yeah, thank you so much. Before you leave, Veranda, do you have any last minute advice or tips that you can share with our public or the listeners and viewers on the show today?
I would just say, you hear it all the time. Money comes and goes, but experiences last a lifetime. I absolutely love travel. I love helping people get to new destinations. And I would just tell people to go and, just experience life while we can experience it. It opens up a whole new world. So if there's that place that you've been, longing to go to for a while, call a travel agent and get there.
I love it. I think it's such a pivotal time for travel advisors, because really, with all this inspiration off Instagram and being locked up for 2 years, it's a great opportunity for all of us to be able to share what our passions are and then connect people with places they've never dreamt of before.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Thank you again, Veranda, for coming in and chatting with us. I really appreciate your time, and I hope I can have you on the show again once more.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Well, the importance of representation is a movement to provide inclusivity and perception. The comfort of finding someone you relate to, and like she said, pride of seeing your beliefs and culture and traditions embraced by others who are successful. It's really the joy of seeing other travel advisors that look just like you. How many of us experienced this, or many of us probably haven't? Me growing up in the travel industry, I can tell you there's a lack of representation when it comes to Asian Americans. But associations like ABTP has enabled communities to fill this void and provide resources and support. And so we continue to open the lines of communication and continue to share knowledge more freely. It allows travel advisors to find community support and validation. I think it's imperative for our industry to understand the needs, behaviors, and concerns of underrepresented travelers to include social aspects of diversity, equity, and inclusions. But soon enough, we'll start seeing more products and services created specifically to connect with these diverse markets. As we all find our purpose and meaning, it's important to recognize the unique experiences that travel can unlock. But associations like ABTP is here to help bridge those growing demands with travel professionals who are ready to develop with excellence, expertise, and culture. As a minority myself, I felt it was very important to share our aligned goals for representation, and I cannot thank Veranda for spending a few minutes of her day with us. The world is reopening, and all of us are searching for something larger than ourselves, with people being inspired every moment to enrich other people's lives by sharing knowledge and insights. We have seen our industry grow in exponential ways, but I am really glad to be witness of this change, and it's really, really empowering. But thank you again for all of our viewers who are able to spend a few minutes of their day to learn more about the travel industry. Don't forget, you can catch our show every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time or 3 p.m. East Coast time on PHLV Radio, which is available on all platforms you listen to your podcasts. You can even catch us on PHLV Radio app, which is available on all iOS and Apple devices. If you stay tuned to our latest episode, you can go to bit.ly/Smart People TravelWise and click on follow. Click the bell to get notified for upcoming shows and episodes. And if you're looking for a travel experience, you can always call our award-winning travel agency, TravelWise International, at 301-248-8898. So thank you to all our viewers and listeners who were able to join our show today. Please stay safe. Until next time, Smart People TravelWise.
Are you ready to travel? We got all the travel buzz here on Smart People TravelWise with Alvin Adriano on PHLV Radio.
Just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
PHLV.